The Alpha's captive. The scent of wet ash and copper hung heavy over the ruins of the Silvermoon Pack. Vespera knelt in the mud, her breath hitching as she looked upon the cold form of her father. Standing over him was Kale, the Alpha of the Ash River Pack, his cloak stained with the soot of her world's ending. He didn't look like a mindless beast, but a grim architect of justice. He reached down, his fingers gripping her chin with a strength that brooked no defiance, claiming her not as a wife, but as a prize of war. Vespera was not cast into a dungeon, but into a chamber of suffocating luxury. Silk drapes the color of bruised plums lined the walls, and a fire crackled in a hearth of polished stone. Kale stood by the door, his silhouette sharp against the hallway light. "You have the freedom of these halls," he told her, his voice a low, gravelly rasp. "But should you step beyond the river, the pact of the captive ends, and the hunt begins. I do not lose what I have fought to claim." Days of isolation turned into a psychological game of cat and mouse. During a tense confrontation in the High Solar, Vespera's hand caught on a jagged silver ornament, the metal slicing deep into her palm. As her blood, bright and shimmering with an unnatural, golden hue, dripped onto Kale's scarred hand, a miracle occurred. The old puckered wounds on his skin vanished instantly, replaced by smooth, unblemished clay. Kale stared at his hand, his eyes widening with a predatory dawning of realization. The dynamic shifted from captivity to a ritual of survival. Kale established a routine of bloodletting, his movements clinical yet laced with a dark, emotional manipulation. He spoke of the rot that was eating his pack from the inside, a sickness that only her essence could stall. He would sit with her in the dim light of the ritual chamber, holding a silver chalice as the golden liquid pooled within. He whispered of her importance, making her feel like a savior while keeping her bound by the very life he drained from her. "You call me a monster," Kale said, leading Vespera into the heart of the Ash River camp. He pulled back the flap of a tent to reveal a row of shivering pack members, their skin turning to a brittle gray stone. "But I am merely the gardener pruning the poison your father planted." Vespera looked at the suffering around her, the air thick with the smell of decay. Kale watched her, his gaze heavy with a challenge. He wasn't just using her blood, he was forcing her to witness the cost of her family's legacy. Kale threw a heavy, iron-bound ledger onto Vespera's lap. As she turned the pages, the truth of her father, Silas, unraveled in horrific detail. It wasn't just a pack war. Silas had been a kidnapper of children, a weaver of plagues who used his own daughter's blood as a failsafe against the very toxins he released. The luxury she grew up in was built on the ransoms of shattered families. She was not the innocent princess of a fallen kingdom, but the gilded daughter of a tyrant. Vespera stood on the balcony overlooking the Ash River, the wind whipping her hair. Kale joined her, the tension between them no longer that of captor and prisoner, but of two souls bound by a terrible history. "He didn't just kill my family," Kale whispered, his voice cracking for the first time. "He made sure we would die slowly, long after he was gone. I took you to find the cure, but I stayed to watch the ghost of him die in your eyes." The plague took a sudden, violent turn, sweeping through the Ash River nurseries. The golden vials were empty, and the pack was fading. Kale stood in the center of the great hall, his shoulders slumped under the weight of his failing people. He looked at Vespera, and for the first time he didn't demand. He looked at her with a desperate, hollow hope that was far more terrifying than his previous threats. The Alpha was broken, and his pack's life hung by a single, golden thread. Vespera returned to the ritual chamber alone, picking up the silver blade. The choice was a jagged edge. She could let the pack perish and be free of the man who destroyed her home, or she could embrace the burden her father had placed upon her. To save them all would require a sacrifice that would leave her a shell, a personal cost of spirit and body. She looked at the blade, thinking of the children in the tents. She would not be her father's failsafe, she would be his final act of penance. As the sun rose over the Ash River, the pack began to stir, the gray stone falling away from their limbs as health returned. In the high chamber, Chaol knelt by Vespera's side. She was pale, her strength spent, but her eyes were clear. The power dynamic had shifted forever. She was no longer his captive, and he was no longer her conqueror. They were survivors of a shared nightmare, bound by a golden sacrifice that had finally washed away the ash of the past.